Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Meet the Visionaries podcast hosted at the MIT Center for Real Estate. I'm Soala Lulia Ajenka, a dual Masters of Architecture and Real Estate Development candidate here at MIT. The big opportunity to do things differently is in emerging economies, in cities and towns that are expected to see a steady increase in population at least until 2050. But these are not places for experimentation, but opportunities to implement proven solutions to address the physical and climate risks facing people and buildings. With that, I'm excited to sit down with Aun Abdullah, Vice President of Lodha Group based in Mumbai, India. He leads the Environment and Sustainable Urbanization agenda at the Lodha Foundation, including the Net Zero Urban Accelerator, a partnership between Lodha and the Rocky Mountain Institute India Foundation. Welcome to the show, Aun.
Thank you, Soala. Thanks for having me in your podcast.
Your work at Lodha Group truly spans every scale of the built environment, from the detailing of ultra-efficient buildings to orchestrating an entire 5-minute city at Palava, to shaping India's national decarbonization pathway. And we could easily talk for 5 hours about any one of these layers, but today I'd like to channel that breadth into a more personal narrative. So we'll start with your journey, what sparked your passion for climate positive development, and how you got involved in the design and development of Palava a few years into its development. And it's a project that many now cite as a global benchmark for integrated low carbon urbanism. And after that, I'll be very eager to explore the lessons that Palava offers for the next generation of rapidly growing cities worldwide. So let's dive right in. So to take on this work that you've championed, as you were saying, from climate positive buildings to urban transformation, I think it's apparent that strong leadership built over years of experience is crucial to that. So could you share a bit more about your journey then? What initially drew you to this work and how those experiences have shaped your approach to Lodha Group today?
So I've been working in the industry for now close to 23 years. 14 years in Lodha, and prior to that, I was working on some landmark projects in the Middle East. I am basically a design professional, design management roles. I would say that my formal entry into sustainability was accidental. So when you join Lodha, so actually, as sustainability is integrated in all aspects of design and development, primarily in the form of nature and efficiency, durability, and the living experience itself. Everyone sort of becomes a sustainability professional in some manner. But I got a chance to specifically start working on Palava in 2016. And then in 2018, we engaged with the Rocky Mountain Institute on a specific assignment on a large commercial complex, which then evolved into creating a net zero roadmap for Palava, which then further evolved into rethinking about sustainability in a comprehensive way. And at that time, we also started sowing the seeds for the Net Zero Urban Accelerator. And during this process, I started leading sustainability here. And as we were, my interest also kept on increasing in this. And there came a time when I realized that it is not only an effort to create some exceptional developments. It is something that we can leverage to impact at the national scale in India. And then when the realization also came that it has a very critical influence on the growth of India and how urbanization or a sustainable sustainability done good in urbanization is critical for India's growth, then I think nothing more meaningful or purposeful can be found. So that really pulled me into this, and now I'm full time into it.
I think that kind of multi-scalar thinking that you just mentioned is extremely important. And it's almost like a drop in the pond definitely has a ripple effect across, the entire body of water, right? So it's incredible to hear how you got into it. But one thing too that's important to note. And like what you mentioned earlier about, the goals that you're implementing at Lodha, a lot of it, cannot be achieved by a single person. And they pretty much demand alignment across an entire organization. And there's an article you wrote on net zero design, and so something you said, and I'll quote it directly, where you said, the entire ecosystem must evolve in sync, where, policy, industry practices, and market forces, align, right, to make efficiency a defining principle of construction. I think you were speaking specifically about, efficient design. And this then means that, building codes, policy and regulation, but also industry awareness and market demand are then the different levers that contribute to the creation of this ideal ecosystem. But then on the company level, I'm curious, what that pivotal moment was that convinced you and the leadership team to embed these goals, as opposed to, just treating them as, compliance measures that a lot of development companies do. And then also similar to that, so this is a compounding question, so if you just bear with me a second. So similar to that, then how do you ensure that, the project managers and project teams that work on ground interpret and execute the same, mentality of like carbon reduction consistently across the organization?
Okay, so it's quite a long question, but I'll. So we are quite privileged to have or to work under the visionary leadership of Mr. Abhishek Lodha, who is our managing director. So he thinks very strongly about nature and sustainable urbanization, uh, especially in context of what it can do to the growth of India. So having said that, I would say that I was, we didn't have to convince the management to take up these initiatives or strategies. It has always been top down. So it's part of the ethos of the management that we must be doing this. And that's precisely the reason why now, if you would have also read about Lodha Foundation, which is the philanthropic arm of the Lodha family. So sustainable urbanization is also a key focus area in that effort. So it has always been top down. It is very close to the heart of the management. So now, if I explain how we have been able to implement this within the larger ecosystem, so I'll break it up into two parts. One is that we do our designs based on a KPI based system. So there are certain expectations from the master plan as well as the buildings across the environmental domains, which any project has to adhere to. And that has been the practice since the beginning, I would say. So whenever a design starts, the expectations are very clearly delineated. So people design for that. Around 2020, 21, when we started embedding the aspects of climate risks within the larger definition of sustainability, we realized that we will need to have specific KPIs on resilience and decarbonization. And at that time, we identified that having a net zero roadmap or a goal is critical. And we went ahead with setting the net zero targets with SBTi, and now our targets have also been validated. We in this process we also realized that a decarbonization path is not only a compliance need. So first of all, it is fundamental for, if you have to do it for a country like in a country like India, it's critical for our growth. But at the same time, when you do that, it also brings in operational efficiency in several aspects. Because when you bring in efficiency into the operations, and when you start incorporating more and more renewables, your costs also come down. And that further enables you to bring about more changes into how you operate and how you develop. And these things, once communicated well within the teams, and both at the design level as well as at the construction and project teams, there is a very purposeful and I would say a serious engagement across spectrum, and everyone tries to adhere to and achieve those targets.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredible to hear too. I mean, part of that too is a lot of research and development rather has gone into achieving the tangible evidence-based outcomes, especially things like cooler temperatures in Palava city when you compare with the rest of Mumbai. And in this case, it's about 2 to 3 degrees cooler, but also you have lower EUI on a per square meter basis. And a lot of this has been achieved through like the personnel development that you were mentioning earlier, but also again, research and development. And I'm curious then, from the ultra efficient air conditioning trials that I know happen in Palava to the energy benchmarking platform that you guys developed, what then has been the most significant lift towards meeting the goals that you set up for yourself?
So I would say that a lot of things add up, and Palava is basically a multi-decade, multi-generational commitment, from our side, and it a lot of initiatives that have gone into it. Some are reflected in numbers now, and some will start reflecting in numbers as the time progresses. But I would, before I go into those specific initiatives, I would like to give the India context first, because that will then make, it will help explain the things, more easily.
No, I agree.
So
Yep.
see, India is urbanizing at an unprecedented scale. From a GDP of close to 3,000 per capita today, there is an expectation of reaching 15,000 GDP per capita in next 25 odd years. This means that several estimates also suggest that close to 100 million households will become home ownership capable in the coming decade. Now that means if you try to assess that scale, it is like housing everyone in Europe afresh. So so these number of houses is more than all the houses in, say, United States. So this level of urbanization is going to happen.
Yeah.
Now we need to solve, or we need to give a template that doesn't. So when you see a typical, organic expansion of a city, it is always associated with chaos, and that chaos is in form of poor livability, also poor quality housing, unplanned, the people not caring for the commons, and roads are all jammed and choked even for shorter distances. So when we conceptualized Palava, we were actually trying to solve these original problems. That how can we overcome the urban chaos and have a city that is one of the most livable, have high quality, economically viable, sustainable housing? How can we make a walkable city? And how can we integrate the community into the governance of the city? So we started with that. And it is very difficult to compress this goal into only the embodied carbon or the energy efficiency numbers. In doing so, we have been able to actually cater to all the aspects of sustainability in this spectrum. If you look on a decarbonization spectrum, I would say that starting from the embodied carbon to the operational carbon, we have been focusing on that. If you look at the designs that we have been able to uniquely achieve at Palava, also because of its scale. Uh, we have been able to build efficiently with less material, and that is possible when you are actually building at a city scale and you are not constrained on the plot. So the buildings are quite efficient in terms of the loads are directly transferred to the foundations. We have been able to avoid basements to the extent we can. There are quite regular geometries, and we have also moved to a scheme of distributed shear walls, which limits the bending in the structure. And all of this adds up to lesser material use. And if you look at the embodied carbon numbers at Palava, I think they are also in some of my articles, you would see them, that the embodied carbon at Palava is close to 400 kg per square meter. Whereas if you look at the benchmarks, in India, those benchmarks are 700, and globally, those benchmarks are around 500. But if you really see at scale, you would find that the numbers are higher. I'm talking about multi-story buildings. So what we are able to operate in terms of embodied carbon is just because of this scale and unique opportunity. Similarly, when you look at the energy use efficiency, where again Palava is having an energy use efficiency of close to 40 kilowatt hour per square meter per year, and this is from a sample size of 10,000 apartments. So this is that median number. You are again you get this opportunity due to the unique scale of Palava. So if you want to squeeze the energy use in any of the buildings, you basically have to tackle four things. One is the microclimate in which the building is there, then the building itself, the building envelope, then the equipment which is there inside the building, and then the user behavior. So if you look at a smaller development, you can realize that it is very difficult to impact all of these four areas. But at Palava, because of the scale, we have been able to, we have been able to orient the whole city right. So it's on the cardinal direction, the longer sides towards south and north. We have been able to intersperse a lot of green and blue infrastructure, so it actually tackles the urban heat. Cool roofs. All of this adds up in impacting the microclimate. And then because the buildings are placed in the right manner, and if they are also efficient, then the overall heat load also comes down. And then again, simply because we can do bulk procurement of efficient equipment, we can overcome the first cost barriers and do it in a more efficient manner. We have been deploying 5-star ACs in Palava since last several years. And not only that, now we are testing the next generation super efficient ACs there. So all of this actually adds up in achieving numbers like this. And as I said, that some of the interventions are yielding results today, and some of the interventions will yield results tomorrow. So if you take this whole thing of testing these super efficient ACs and trying to see how they can be commercialized. So this is an effort that we are doing today. I'm sure the results will come 3 to 4 years from now. If you would have also read about our piloting of LC3 limestone calcine clay cement in producing greener concrete for some of our developments. So this also will take time as we build more confidence in the product and we scale up. So a few of these initiatives are translated in numbers today itself, and several will further improve these metrics as times go by. There are things that we have started doing, especially in terms of using synthetic climate data for designing of the infrastructure. Now, this is something that we have started doing since last 2 years. And there are no numbers to prove. So we are using SSP2 data, and we have used global climate models to run on IPCC scenarios, basically, and that's why this SSP2 data. So how will this data safeguard ourselves as times and as climate worsens is something for us to see. So many things are reflected in numbers, and many things are now, as they are now embedded in the fabric of the development, they will show the results as times pass.
Yeah, I like what you're saying about not thinking about these interventions in isolation, but rather thinking of it as a system. And I think the scale of Palava City means that you can pretty much pull these different levers, see how they work together to then achieve like very specific goals. And again, some of those goals you would only find out about, a couple of years. Some of them are more immediate. And I think to that point too, so I have pretty much like two questions leading off of that. And one of them is tied to what you're just saying now about using, synthetic climate data to design infrastructure, almost preempting the future that perhaps, based on like the risk that we perceive that buildings and societies face. And that question then is tied to this escalating flood and heat wave risk of Mumbai specifically, and how that translates to the financing of the project, right? And I'm curious how, in the India situation, how lenders and insurers are pricing in these risks, and what design adaptations, you just sort of touched on them earlier, where you're using, again, using synthetic climate data to design infrastructure. But what are those design adaptations that you're adopting then to keep these projects bankable and to ensure them and hedge them against the impending risks that, have been predicted to happen in the coming years?
Okay, so let me break this down a bit. So the insurance sector in India is not yet fully matured in terms of how it incorporates the climate risks, especially in the urban context. Similarly, I would say that today climate resilience is not so much a priority with lenders. Plus, there is this specific aspect that developments like these garner a lot of demand, and that demand enables us to sell during the construction phase itself, which generates enough cash flow for the development of the project. And this also helps us to be, light on debt, But having said that, we do see some early signs of change, especially on the equity side, where some of our marquee investors have invested in our company because of our ESG credentials, as well as seeing how we are tackling these risks. So I would say that things are moving in a particular direction, and we will see a lot of formal inclusion of these risks into the lending and investment space.
I think to your point about demand, Palava moved from being a greenfield to a city of, over 175,000 people in just over a decade. I'm curious, I guess, from two sides, which of the KPIs first persuaded, say, investors that this integrated live, work, play model will be financially viable in the Indian context? And also on the demand side, too, what you're saying about, there is demand, right? Even housing pretty much, let's just say like infinite demand, but it's a very specific model that you're implementing. I'm curious what that process of, saying to the market, like, this is a product that perhaps you haven't seen before, but it's viable. And then on the investor side, again, product you haven't seen before, but is financially viable.
Yeah. So from the investor side, again, I'll go back to the answer that I just gave about the ability of the project to generate its cash flow in a manner that it doesn't require a lot of debt. If we phrase those investors as the end users or the residents, then the residents are attracted to a project like this simply because of the living experience that they get. It's basically the lifestyle. So while on one end we would say that we are implementing sustainability, which also includes aspects of livability, but for the end user, all of this adds up in a very different manner, not only in terms of the raising of their living standards, more affordability in terms of uh, the energy efficiencies and water efficiencies, more access to green spaces, active spaces, proximity of schools for their kids. Walkability is again something which people cherish, and they don't get a chance to do so in congested cities like Mumbai. So all of these things attract people, and they get a full package in a development like this, and that's why people move in large numbers.
Yeah, it's a very almost like qualifiable and quantifiable alternative to what existed before, as you were just
Exactly.
describing, like, the city prior. So then I'm curious, because the significant, sustainability features that you mentioned, again, different from what existed before. There's this perception that they do add costs to already expensive urban housing, but your products are mid-income, I think Palava City specifically. And I'm curious then if, these sustainability features were they premium line items, or were they net cost savers over, the life cycle of a building? And my curiosity then is whether these specifications translated to this mid-income housing model that you had, or whether there was, fear that the market that you were looking at, the people who were in this market will be priced out because of, the extra features that the development provided.
Uh, See, it's not an added cost line item. I would say it is a thought line item. Sustainability is, it. You have to break it down into three parts. One is many aspects of sustainability uh, do not attract any premium whatsoever. I'll give you an example. If you want to go for greener concrete mixes by adding supplementary cementitious materials, that is cheaper. If you do a thoughtful design which is more materially efficient, you are using less material and it is cheaper. You go for recycled steel as compared to the virgin steel, it is cheaper. You go for more efficient equipment, uh, and especially if you are able to achieve it through bulk procurement, it is cost neutral. So in many aspects, you do not spend more energy, more cost. Uh, Now, if you extend it to some other items where you do spend a bit more cost, but if you start looking at it from a operational efficiency and life cycle, from a life cycle perspective, you find that again, the aspect of being more expensive just goes away. So the real premium that can be attached to sustainability is for really like deep decarbonization, or really, those innovative interventions which require a lot of time to develop and so forth. That is still far off. So we have a lot of opportunity in the coming few years. I mean, not us only. I'm saying the larger market to adopt so much without any extra cost. That I'm sure that when the time comes to spend a bit more to drive deeper decarbonization and have and accelerate innovation, I think we'll be in the position to absorb that.
So let's zoom out just a bit. And I'm curious then, there's something that has come up in your writing and about Palava City in general, which is this 5, 10, 15 accessibility rule. I'm curious about its direct implementation and, the behavioral shifts, the retail spending on a consumer point of view, but also the community participation that you've observed since its implementation. Because some of these ideas that we think about as, okay, it's theoretical, 15-minute city, but in this case there is tangible implementation that has happened now over a couple of years. So I'm curious, yeah, what were the unexpected things? But also, how did you see people's behavior shifting as a result of this design principle that you adopted across the city?
Let's first discuss a bit about what is this 5-10-15 principle. So Palava as a city is built up of neighborhoods, and each neighborhood is designed in a manner that supports this 5-10-15 walkability principle. Now, by 5 we mean everything that a person needs on a daily basis. And by 10 we mean the community level amenities. And by 15 you can say the township level amenities. And let's break them down. So you need to have livability retail near your home. You need to have some amount of green space near your home. You need your local bus stop. You need your shared bicycles. You need your multi-level car park where your vehicles are parked within 5 minutes of distance. So they are located in a manner where the rest of the developments is around it within a 5-meter walkability. And then there are certain community level amenities, which are like school, the club and sports facilities, places of worship, etc. Now, these are at a 10-minute distance. And then at the town level, you require to be connected to a transportation hub from where you can go to places. You require the workplaces. You require larger sports arena. You require huge parks. So those type of amenities are there at a 15-minute distance. So that's how the amenities are distributed within the city. What this also does is that it makes the streets more vibrant because the destinations get distributed around the streets. And people going to these destinations are passing that street. This makes the street more safe to walk, more vibrant, and more inviting. And as that happens, people start embracing walkability more and more. Walkability is not just just give a shade. It's not enough. We need to give an experience within that whole aspect of walkability. And because we have been able to distribute these amenities in a manner that a vibrant walkable corridor is established where we wish, we have seen that people have embraced it. They like it a lot, and you will find more people walking than driving when you pass through Palava.
Yeah, no, I was going to say too that there is an incredible Wall Street Journal article about Palava City. And I think interestingly, it focuses on accessibility and a bit about this principle that has made its way into the design. So then it sounds like, there's a lot of, community engagement, right? People are invested in these ideas and design principles that the city incorporates, and it's been well received. And I know one thing that's unique about Palava is the fact that you have citizen councils that co-manage local services. I'm curious then how this democratic input is balanced with operational efficiency of Lodha as the developer of the project.
A resident who has moved to Palava has already bought into the vision of the city. So while the city is managed by Palava City Management Association, which is a group of experts, and they work with citizen councils in a co-governance model, I would say. Now, these city governance, these citizen councils are for things like engineering and infrastructure, for sports, for security, for for transportation, for culture. Now, these are those individuals from within the community who are either passionate about these topics or sometimes even an expert in it. Now, these community starts working with the City Management Association, and it starts like this. So we first align on the vision, where there is almost it's always universally aligned. And I mean, the simple fact that they have moved into the development is a proof of that. Then it comes to the operational aspects, which I would say is the how of implementation of the vision. And their inputs are taken, their priorities are understood, those deliberations also happen. And sometimes we also do a pilot and scale. We take a pilot and scale route, where if something needs to be done in a particular manner, we take the input, do it at a smaller scale to see the viability, and then scale it up. And during this entire exercise, we also keep the residents fully informed. I mean, we have the communication channels through our uh, development app, as well as now, WhatsApp is also a good communication channel. So they are all informed about what's happening and how. So in this way, there is an engagement not only from the residents at large, but also from these specific set of individuals who lead the efforts along with PCMA in running these things.
There's something very specific about the governance structure, and I think the way the city itself has developed, something that's very culturally relevant but also culturally responsive to the Mumbai context. Do you think that the Palava template can be ported to fast-growing satellite towns and cities around the world, say Delhi, right, also in India, but also say Lagos in Nigeria? Or do you think its success is tied directly to these like Mumbai area conditions, both the status quo as existed and the way it's responded to that status quo?
See, I've been saying all this while that we are trying to develop this as an urbanization template, sustainable urbanization template. So yeah, it is a template to be followed not only in Mumbai but everywhere. So the template can obviously not be followed in terms of using the exact same concrete or using the exact same air conditioners, or but in terms of the principles. Now, these principles are easily portable. I would say that these are universal principles. Everybody would want to live in a city that is highly livable. They would want to live in a walkable city. They would want to have a city that is resilient to climate change, something that also consumes less energy, and so on. So these things are, and most importantly, people want to live as one with nature. So as much nature that we have been able to embed in Palava, maybe we can do more, and maybe in other favorable geographies it can be done much more. So looking at these principles, I would say that they're always portable. And depending on the climate and geography, they can be tweaked to and developed into the unique flavor of that place. So I think they are definitely portable. They can be used anywhere.
I mean, my question is also coming from the point of view of, we hear a lot about cities that pop up around the world, right? And a lot of them pretty much they start and they never quite get completed. So I think there's something unique about this situation where a very specific vision was set up, has been adapted throughout the years, and has been implemented as well. So I think irrespective of even, I mean, yes, we're saying that the ideas are portable, you can, adapt them to different situations, but in cases that they have been tried and perhaps not implemented in the same way I think that Lodha Group has done in this situation, they haven't been as successful, right? Similar ideas, take them elsewhere. Perhaps it's more the structure that internally you guys have set up that has made this very successful, even beyond just the ideas and the vision that has been set up. Would you agree?
Yeah, a very interesting point that you just raised. A lot of cities pop up, but they do not reach a completion or a steady state. Uh, see, Palava is next to Mumbai, which is the economic nucleus for Palava. And that's why it's a satellite city. It will require this nucleus until it develops its own economy, or its own economy crosses a critical mass when it becomes self-sustaining. This is something which is very important. So any such endeavor needs to either have a very strong uh, lever for economic growth, or it should be close to an existing economic hub. And as we are seeing that a lot of these big cities and mega cities are even becoming bigger, the need of such satellite cities has become, more pronounced. Something like this will also happen in India. We believe that the bigger cities will become bigger, more bigger, and there will be an opportunity to expand in a sensible and organized manner like this, instead of the chaotic organic expansion that is normally associated with such growth.
Okay, let's fast forward to say 2035, in another 10 years. What does a typical Indian urban neighborhood look like then for you, if this sustainability roadmap that you set up succeeds, right? If Palava City then, fully becomes a benchmark and an example, it is leading by example. And if it is implemented across the country, not just in Mumbai, but in different one of these, economic hubs that you're saying, what just paint a picture for me, 2035.
So building a city requires two key ingredients. One is it requires a lot of material movement, a lot of resources. It also requires a lot of energy. Through our model, we are trying to showcase that how can we use material more efficiently, and how can we develop a model which is more energy efficient. Both of these things you can actually translate them as material security and energy security for the country or for the city itself. The third most important thing is the climate risks that the urbanization will be subjected to. So we also need climate security. These three things are essential for a city in 2035. So, I think I've written also at certain instances that India will either grow sustainably or will not grow at all. So when I see 2035, I see that our cities would have embraced sustainable urbanization, will not be as chaotic as they are, as we see them today. And on the other hand, they become levers for national growth. They should catalyze the increase in productivity by enabling, by becoming those enabling elements in human and as well as economic growth of the country.
Right. So it's the three levers: energy, materials, climate, and those three are important. Almost like we need to plan for them,
Yeah,
right?
because
Yes,
you might run out of material to build cities. We sometimes do not think too much about it, but it's a fact.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today, Aun. It's been an incredible conversation. Do you have any closing remarks for the audience, students, fellow professionals, developers around the world as well, not just in the US or even India?
See, the people who will be listening to this podcast, MIT students and other professionals, I'm sure they will do big things in their lives. And I would just suggest that when they are doing their things, they should see how can those be good for many and not only for themselves? I would also say that we should look at the privileges we have and the responsibility that it brings. So if we have this realization, we will be able to affect large systems level changes, which are critical for humanity, I would say. And in doing so, you can be grounded in the complexities of that are there in the world, but be very bold in terms of the questions that you ask. You can be generously collaborative, because that's the only way to multiply our abilities and bring about the change in a more accelerated manner.
Yeah. No, I perfectly put. I'm going to take generously collaborative. I love how you put that. To our listening audience, thank you so much for joining us, and tune in to the next episode.
Thanks to our listeners for tuning into another edition of Meet the Visionaries podcast. And please remember to stay tuned for future episodes by subscribing to our podcast, or follow us on social media by visiting cre.mit.edu to learn more. Until next time, take care, listeners.